That's Wade.
I thought, no, that's good.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, that looks good.
Hey there.
Hey, guy. I don't like these.
Go the other way, and there's some standing.
No,
You like to see?
look too fat. Definitely, I'm not that fat.
So
Your
you
camera needs to be adjusted.
You,
Yeah.
you pick the one that you want, and then send it to me from here.
You just picked one of the, you
No, I'm
like
not
the,
gonna pick.
well, I don't like these.
I don't like them either because it looks so stark. Oh, I like some of those
Yeah, those are
standing.
nice.
I like those.
Rah, rah, rah.
Well, let's all.
Well, I
You
think
pick
we
one,
need
I
to
don't know.
pass an ordinance tonight to allow at least one billboard a month.
Well, the house up there has signs in it, and I'm like, you don't usually see signs except in the counties. I like the outside.
Okay, let's do outside because we like the outside. If we had a choice, what would we do? Outside. Okay. That one's fine.
I will do.
I like that one too.
The meeting summary and send it to you, probably later tonight, at the latest tomorrow.
I'm not smiling. Oh, I am smiling, trying to.
Pick trash if it's one you don't like.
Where's that? That's a good idea. See, that's,
No.
none of the standing ones. Use trash all day. This one's good.
Okay, pick one of those.
Hi, how are you?
That was a little far away.
Good, I'm Mason Blake.
He can zoom in.
I'm Jake Quinn.
Moses
Hey,
Cole.
yes, thank you for coming tonight.
I like that one. Let's go with that.
Let's do that.
Oh, that's good. Well, you know Commissioner Whitmer, Jake Quinn, Commissioner Alexander, Commissioner Touche.
Nothing should be.
Hi, Jake. Kitty Boucher, nice to meet you.
We're
We are.
Yeah.
Thank you for being the people.
So you're just here to give us an update on on elections.
Yeah, on municipal elections, Fulton County. Everything a little different than our office, it's a little smoother.
Good.
And we appreciate y'all.
Okay,
Oh,
we
we-
chose
we-
tonight.
Did Savannah ever reach you to talk about our address issue here in
Send that to me.
I know.
I didn't put a subject.
Very, very.
I'm sure you do.
I
What's that?
only wish that we could respond to the community on this.
Yourself.
But the State Board of Elections is utterly dependent on the U.S. Postal Service. And for better or for worse, we follow their conventions, which means y'all live in Black Mountain.
Well, I went on because I was trying to see about mailing bulk mail for the campaign. And so when I went on, I went through some of the process, and when it goes to, you put in your 28757. Well, when the area comes up, Monterey came up, you know, because I put the address for the post office in there.
Right.
And so it came up, and I realized that where I am, I'm 2711. And where's it, 72, yeah.
You're Black Mountain.
But I'm not really, because my post office box
Is in Montreal.
is in Monterey. So for us, it's not gonna, you know, if we're sending out, it's not gonna go to Black Mountain people, even though the bubble looks like it sort of does, it doesn't. That was enlightening.
Our problem is ordering things. Like I ordered something from Ace Hardware. They would not let me put my address in. So I finally put down in the comments, please deliver, because they were chairs. I needed them delivered to my home. And
That's the difficulty with
Yeah.
doing
much. That's where I've come down.
If the US
That's what it is.
delivered to
And
your
you guys,
house, you would
you're
have
tied,
possession.
you're tied with the postal service, and you just have to.
Well, you know, it's actually more than that though, because if you look at the map, the zip code map, the zip code map shows the post office property and about 2 or 3 other houses surrounding it. And that's the only 28757.
We know that that's not really true, because it's my understanding that every resident within the municipal boundaries is supposed to be a client of that post office, and that will give you that
Well-
zip code. But instead, every Montreat voter registration is Black Mountain 28711.
But you know that the issue comes down to the fact that because we all have post office boxes, which happen to be in that post office, which is 28757.
Right.
It is correct.
It is.
But if they said all of a sudden, all right, home delivery, we'd probably still have to put 28711.
It often goes in that we're in Black Mountain, but our delivery people that know what's going on, but then sometimes, you know, somebody new
But
says it couldn't
If
deliver.
the US Postal Service changed their program so that residents of Montreat receive their mail at their residential address, then they would have to change that whole.
And we would probably lose our post office.
We lose our post office, that's the
And
problem.
you might.
We can't have it both ways.
How many households do you think are in the Montreat area?
Well, just did a look at that a couple weeks ago, and there's no real number, but there's about 275 homes
Oh, that many.
That are year
that
round.
are year-round.
We have like 600.
Ladies and gentlemen, I live in Glen Echo, Maryland. Pretty long time, zip code 20912. And we had maybe 105 homes in the entire hamlet. We were on both sides. I mean, it was just not an issue.
But you probably also had home delivery.
We did have home delivery, but they didn't fold us in. It was immediately adjacent to Bethesda, Maryland. Big town. Glen Echo was teeny tiny. They could have folded that whole mail operation into the big Bethesda operation, but they didn't do it. Because one of the reasons was our post office was also our town hall, is also our community meetings.
You know, there are a lot of
And just,
communities.
I'm guessing that folks in your community go to the post office, they pick up their mail and they talk to their neighbors.
That's right.
It's the meeting place.
That's what it happened with us too. It's just that we did get our delivery at home. But they never threatened.
Welcome back.
They threatened
Very
for that.
happy to say, I'm happy to say for a number of reasons, not least of which, our postal service paid us rent every month. And we needed that revenue to keep the building going. But, I don't know, it's really the post office, but the post office is a mighty big
It is,
entity, and they're tough to.
there are other places besides us. No, we're not.
No, thank you, it is an aging problem, and if it goes away in my lifetime, I'm gonna be that much happier.
Well, and one of your board members is an upstanding citizen here, Steve Aceta.
I was very, very fortunate to serve for a long time, Jay Watson. He was another Montreat. Those gentlemen are just enjoyable.
That's good. That's good.
Jay went and moved to South Carolina.
And how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, thanks.
And it was fun. I love
It's 5:30, Mr.
If we can get seated, please. It's 5:30 and we're going to begin our meeting. If everybody could please take their seats. I'm going to go ahead and call this September 12th Board of Commissioners Public Forum meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Mayor Helms, you'll note, is ill and has COVID, and so is not here tonight. And as Mayor Pro Tem, I will be doing the difficult job of taking his place. Why don't we go ahead and get started by observing a moment of silence, please. Okay. The first item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Does any commissioner wish to make a motion on adoption? So moved. All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Alexander, a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Widmer. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have our public comment section of the public forum meeting. Does anyone in the public have a comment they wish to share with us this evening? Yes, Mary, please come up. State your name and address.
Mary Standard, 118 Shenandoah Terrace. And this is really a follow-up question, is that it's been a while since we've heard news of what's going on with the cell phone tower. That's been brought to the attention multiple times to the town council. And since the town does have some oversight over the cell tower, which still seems to be in a state of less than pristine, and that's been on your attention radar for quite a while now. If we could get an update on where that stands?
The last I heard, Commissioner Dasher was going to meet with the town attorney and work on putting a plan together. I know that they met, but I don't know what has been done since then. This has been pretty recently that they spoke about it.
It's been ongoing for a while, so it'd be lovely if perhaps that could be either an agenda item for next month, not to put pressure on, but just to be timely about it so that it doesn't fall into the cracks of the world. And my other question, just to start off with, because it's come up on various Facebook's sites, and it's really been a question that I have a clue, and I've been here 20 years now. Why does Montreat not have mail delivery? I have been told various things, but I don't know the actual reality of it.
My understanding, and I'll just give you my understanding, Mary, and is that the town has been told in the past that you can have post office, or you can have home delivery, but you can't have both.
And, you know, again, we're just talking person to person here, rather, because this is all I have been told, you know, kind of thing. But I was told that the town mandated at some point in time that we would not have mail delivery. So I guess my question is that accurate?
My guess is, when all this is supposition, my guess is the town probably may have passed a resolution supporting no mail delivery as a way of, if some people were requiring or requesting the post office to do home delivery, that was sort of a response to that in a way to keep the post office. Again, we can either have mail carriers here, or we can have a post office here, but the post office won't spend money for both.
Yeah, I would
And
just.
those mail carriers, if they leave, they won't come from this post office, they will come from Black Mountain. Hence why we all have a Black Mountain zip code, because on the post office's books, if they ever have to hand deliver, it's coming out of Black Mountain. There isn't a hand delivery truck that works out of Montreat, it works out of Black Mountain.
And it would just, well, I'm not advocating for or
Yeah, I know.
against,
But that's
but
my
I do have this interest in knowing why. And actually, it's fairly interesting to follow. At one point in time, since our being here in Montreat, we had 2 zip codes, the Black Mountain zip code and the 28757 zip code. That was back in around 2014, 2015. There were 2 existing postcards. So something changed somewhere along that way. And part of the reason is of the why is that the post office boxes are getting really expensive. And they go up every time the mail postage goes up. So we can only look forward to that. So it has come up on Facebooks, and just, it would be of interest to know the why. Not advocating one way or the other as we do things. So perhaps that's something our town manager,
Okay,
I mean, I'd just like to know the
sure.
why. We hear
Sure.
both things. Okay, thank you so much.
If that, if that ever was mandated by the town, whether it was by resolution or just discussion, it's not something that Angie or I are aware of or can locate in our documents. So I'm not sure where that came from, but I don't think that it's anything that the town mandated, at least formally.
There's still people around that might have some longer history here than even all of us. But the why is always the way to figure out how to go forward. So just of interest. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment from the public? George, step right up. Name and address, please.
George Sawyer, 324 Chapman Road. Couple of things. First of all, I'd like to compliment our newspaper person for 2 wonderful articles in the last 2 issues of the local news. Thank you. I've already spoken to them. The other thing, I know that you all know this, but I just want to say it publicly. The town crew, I don't do names, Barry and his staff did wonderful 2.5 days work last week in taking down dead trees in the new trail site, cleaning everything up and moving it out so that when we had the groundbreaking, the trail site was in decent shape and looked good. And we had a wonderful turnout for the groundbreaking. The mayor's remarks were spot on, and he was quoted in the paper too. And the comment that he made, this has no financial effect on the town, that it was a citizen-driven thing, is, I think, very significant for a mayor to recognize that. And it felt good to hear him say it that day. So appreciation goes out to all. We're on the road. We got some money coming in, and things are gonna start to happen.
Well, congratulations to you all.
We are all so proud of you, George. and your team. Eric?
Eric Nichols, 527 Swanee Drive. I have a big thank you to Tom Widmer, speaking of Flat Creek Crossing. Tom arranged the transfer of securities into an account which produced dollars for the Flat Creek Crossing. It was a big deal, and he was very expeditious, and what nice service to the town and Flat Creek Crossing, and all of us people who are going down there soon.
Thank you, Eric.
Any other? Yes, Gracie?
Grace Nichols, 527, and I used to say 524 for about 3 years. But I live with Eric, and we're in the same house. I would like to commend the town for in the budget of placing the sidewalk and connecting the town hall into Montreat. You know, when we were looking at the location of this many years ago, I'll never forget Sam Sloan, if you want the town hall to be in Montreat, let's move the gate. And that gave a big laugh to everyone. So this is the best connection, and I know that Savannah is overlooking this, and that was maybe come from the town manager, I don't know, but I feel like the connection that we'll later get with some trails from Black Mountain are gonna be wonderful. But again, shout out to Barry and Daniel and the crew. Thank you.
And Gracie, they're not done yet. They're going to make that connection of the sidewalk between Lookout and the dam.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did I not read that somewhere? Or is that an announcement?
No, that's not, that was part
that's
of
in
the
the
original
budget.
plan.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you.
Budget. Yes, Joe?
I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but since I'm here, Joe Standard at 118 Shenandoah. I had sent a thought letter to the Lane Care months ago, and I never have followed up pursuing it. But if you remember, John Johnson and I and Rusty Frank did the Hemlock project years ago. Sure. We raised a bunch of money and chemically treated. Then we raised a bunch of money and did beetles. And I'm not sure I know where the beetles are at the moment. The college, Abigail keeps monitoring them with the college students. You know, they monitor the health. But looking around Montreat, right here, these hemlocks are dying. There's a bunch up on the ball field that are in bad shape. There's a bunch in front of the Assembly Inn that are in bad shape. Anyway, the hemlocks have not been treated since John Johnson and I did that, probably 8 years ago or whatever it is. You know, and there's also a debate about do we chemically treat and kill the food source for the beetles, or do we wait 100 years for the beetles to start eating adelgids? But I just think something needs to be done, maybe spot treating, you know, some of these prominent hemlocks that are dying, like all the ones right outside the gate. My suggestion to Land Care, before we do like another fundraiser, last time we did a big fundraising, hired professionals to treat the trees and whatever, and the beetles. My thought, this is just a thought for you guys to, and I don't know where it should go, to tree board or you guys, but now we have our public works guys that are certified arborists. And I think, I'm not sure, the hemlock chemical has come off patent, so I think it's cheaper. I'm just wondering whether we get our own public service people, use Lane Care money or take a small fundraising thing, buy the chemical, and maybe have our public works people treat the right of way, you know, between the gate and the lake. Or any ones that are that we have authority to in the public. And that'd be a cheaper way to go rather than doing another big fundraising with the public. But anyway, just a thought.
I think that's a fantastic idea. I treat them in my yard. It's not complicated.
Right.
I've had a friend who comes and helps me, and he's not even an arborist. And he actually, I don't know if you know Bobby Boyd. Some of you may know Bobby Boyd. He brings a big syringe that's gigantic, and there's a formula, you measure the tree, and it's pretty simple.
Yeah, I mean, we hired Appalachian arborists to do it.
And it's expensive, yeah, to do
So
it
anyway,
that
just
way.
my thought, I don't know whether it should go to tree board, or you guys talk about it, I don't know. My thoughts.
Okay, well, thank you, thank you. I think that's a great idea. But everybody knows there's some limit to everything we can pile on Barry and the staff, but they do a great job of doing more different things than anybody, whether it's arborist or it's painting stripes on the street that, instead of paying somebody else, or fixing our water runoff problems and damage. It's amazing. So, any other member of the public like to speak this evening?
I'll say something if the public's finished. Jane and I have been talking for months, maybe a year, we've been talking about how to improve our sanitation and recycling in particular right now. And, you know, we could reduce our garbage if we recycled more. So we met with Barry and Savannah, was it last week? And ran over some ideas that we've been researching. And Savannah said, well, let's start with recycling the batteries and the ink cartridges right now. So we've already started that. So if you have an ink cartridge or a rechargeable or one single-use battery, bring them down here, and we get to take them to Staples. There's a laundry list 2 pages long of what Staples will recycle, and you get credit for it. So every time we go in, we get a discount, we get credit that we can use for paper or whatever. So start bringing those items, and then we have talked to Barry about when we get our new convenience center completed, we're going to try to start recycling more. And like I say, it's unbelievable what Staples will take. And when I said, well, if we do it from the town, we're going to have a lot. Do you have a limit on your credit? And she said, yes, but have several people bring it, put the credit in their name. And I said, okay, we'll do it. So anyway, look for that, and maybe, you know, we'll be polling people to find out who would be interested in recycling more. And Barry said a lot of what they pick up on the special days, twice a year, are things that we could be taking to Staples and getting credit for. And the other thing, I don't want everybody to run, but we've talked about recycling food waste. And the problem, of course, is you're setting up compost pile for the bears to get into, but they do it in Buncombe County at about 6 or 8 locations. One of them is at the West Asheville Library, and I checked out their system the other day, and it's quite simple. Apparently, they don't have bear problems there. But anyway, if we can fix it so that the bears cannot get in it, then the next question is, would people be willing to bring their food waste down here and put it into a recycle bin? And how many days would you let it sit around before you say, I got to take this to the gate? Anyway, we've got to work out some kinks, but we start talking early because government moves slowly. So think about that and let us know, let Jane and me know what your feedback is.
Great, Kitty, great, Jane. Thank you for those ideas. That's really cool, because dealing with those ink cartridges is really, and batteries is really a problem, and that's a great way to solve it. So, terrific. Any other comments? Yes, Mary?
That's great, and I know we're, you know, waste and tippage fees and things are so good, so it's great that you're doing that. And just, if everybody would sort of add to your list, like a lot of us do a lot of gardening around here, but if you take your garden containers to Lowe's, you can take those plastic pots that you buy from various places over to Lowe's, and they'll take them, and I end up saving those for the bulk pickup kind of days because they're really hard to get rid of. But if we just feed into Jane or to Kitty those simple things that we can do to reduce waste so we don't have more garbage, would be great. Thank you.
That's good, yeah.
Any other public comments? Any other commissioner comments? If not, do I hear a motion to adjourn the public forum?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Second, moved by Mr. Whitmer, second by Commissioner Shea. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're adjourned for about 10 minutes until we start our regular meeting. Thanks, everybody.
What does everybody think about our Navy table?
I love
That was Angie's idea. I think they're really nice.
them. They really are nice. And they look great on.
Do look good.
Good on camera.
And if they feel good, we don't see that big
That's
steak
right.
that's been driving me crazy for the last
4 years.
Yes, his name is Brandon Freeman.
That's sort of dominates, makes everything small.
I will get up.
And there's a page of news and stuff. Hey, Lori. Oh, do they? They do that all year long, or just all year or in the summer? Wow. That's great to hear, because, how do they keep the bears out?
Chick-fil-A sauce. If you put the Chick-fil-A sauce in that's what they add. Some fried chicken skins. They're big. Yeah.
Go to Staples, and if you go to Staples, I can find it, but if I Google Staples recycling, it comes up with two pages. And then a very short list of what they don't recycle, television. Yeah, we get credit. The people that do that would pick up the food, they want, that they were like, can we come out there and help us to get our convenience center ready before you come? They're ready to come and they bring you out of the way. Still out of elected years. Yeah, see, did I see you? The only way, she said they're not trying to reduce it, they're trying to live on the road. And the only way to do it is saw the survey, she said they were too close along all the way to. Normally, when I clear the catches, by the time I get my gun and go outside, I lived there for the fight. When my son, my younger son was in middle school, we lived on 4 acres. And he had a little so he could actually get a tree. And this tree, sliding next door, and it shattered They were very good about it. Of course, he lost his good marrow. Oh my God.
Literally, like, I don't
So anyway, well, we're using all this information. People, see what they come up with. But I would Hey, Clay.
Let's begin to take our seats.
Oh, good.
Let's begin to take our seats, please.
Oh, you're welcome. Clay Hamilton, you know, I saw you from back there, I thought you were somebody else. You have a twin in here, Ed Crane. You're a twin, double lives in Montreal. Nice to meet you, Clay.
My computer just says it's 6 o'clock.
They live on Maryland, they live right across from,
I'm going to go ahead and call this. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting of the Board of County Commissioners to order. Welcome everyone to this evening's meeting. As I indicated in our public forum, for those of you who are not here, Mayor Helms has COVID and will not be able to attend tonight. And I will step into it. I'm forced to step into his big shoes and try to run the meeting. So I welcome you all. Why don't we begin by standing and saying Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's observe a moment of silence for prayer or however else we would like to focus our thoughts. Okay. The first time on our agenda tonight is the adoption of the agenda. Does any commissioner wish to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Alexander, second by Commissioner Fouché to adopt the agenda in the form set forth in our agenda packet. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is to adopt the agenda is unanimously approved. The next time on our agenda is Mayor's communications. He did not furnish me any communications, none to you, Savannah. He's got COVID. I actually had it last week, so it puts you in sort of a non-communicative mood. Okay, the consent agenda. On our consent agenda, we have the minutes of our August public forum meeting and our August town council meeting. These agendas, or rather these minutes, are automatically approved as part of the consent agenda. Does anybody have any comments on or corrections regarding the minutes or anything like to pull from the consent agenda? None, then consent agenda is adopted as well as those minutes. Town manager communications, Savannah?
I just have one announcement tonight, and that is that I would like to introduce our new police chief, Jeff Eaton. Jeff, would you stand up, please? Look in the back, everyone. That's our new police chief. Jeff comes from Buncombe County. He's retired. He has a lot of experience. He started last Tuesday and has already hit the ground running. So thank you, Jeff. We're really excited that you're here. And to our interim chief who served in between our former chief and Jeff, thank you, Tim, so much. You've done a great job. And he's actually going to stay on part-time as in a captain's role, so we're really excited about that as well.
That's great. That is really, really terrific. Thank you, Savannah, very much. The next item on our agenda are administrative reports. Written activity reports from each of the town's departments are provided in the meeting packet. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments regarding any of the reports?
Yes, I do. On the administrative report, on page, come on,
12.
12 of the packet. Under water bills processed and mailed, it's clear. And then it's not so clear, water bills processed and emailed. There's a huge difference between 23 and 24. Could you just explain that, please?
I'm going to look for Angie for confirmation, but I believe it's the new software that allows us to email more bills out. And so more folks have opted into that, and that's why.
But it's showing that far less have.
Oh, then I don't know. Angie? Okay.
It shows only 42 bills.
Hold on, I'll bring you.
So I think it was an error on the person doing the report. That'd be me. So last year, there was no email capability to send out emailed water bills. This year, Debbie's going to get me because she gave me the numbers, but it was like 680 were mailed and about 56 were emailed, give or take.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
And I did have one more question, if I can find it here. But I can't.
We'll come back to it.
While you look, I'll ask a question. It's for Tim, I guess. Hey, Tim, I noticed there were no numbers for, in the previous column for the police report. Am I taking it that because those numbers weren't valid from last time?
So, under the practice with the former chief, there was documentation processes that were concerning that we had to change for the department. And so a directive was written by myself in that time frame that instructed the officers to start utilizing Buncombe County Emergency Communications to log all the calls. This would be extra patrol checks that they're doing throughout their duties to include all vehicle stops, any sort of criminal action or any kind of criminal enforcement. So they began under that directive to start logging and utilizing the emergency operations centers through the radio. Two big reasons for that. It's an officer safety issue. When you check out on something and you do not acknowledge any traffic to the dispatch office, that's an officer safety issue, because if something happens right then and they call for help and they've not checked out through communications, then there would be, nobody would know where they're at to go help. So that directive covered that and the fact that they're going to check out on these things, and that's what upped our calls for service in that record, because that is record straight from Buncombe County Emergency Operations Systems.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Well, in that intervening period, on the August fiscal report on, again, page 19, I noticed that the budget, year-to-date budget on the general fund is $372,000. But the year-to-date collected is only 44.6. Did we do just a straight line, 1/12, 1/12 on that? Why is there such a big difference between what is the year-to-date budget versus what we've actually collected?
So that year-to-date budget.
Could you come forward, Rachel, please? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So that year-to-date budget line item is actually just taking the total and dividing it out by month.
So it's
So
a
just
straight line,
yes.
112.
Yeah, so it's not actually what we've done, it's where we should be, or like a basis of, like a
It's not based
baseline.
on our history.
Correct. Good?
Thanks.
Okay, anything else on administrative reports? Next on the agenda is our first public comment item. Is there any member of the public which is to address the board at this time? If not, we'll also pass over old business, since there are no old business items provided for on our agenda. The first item of new business is an elections board update, and I'd like to introduce Jake Quinn, who's chair of the Buncombe County Board of Elections. Jake, welcome, and thank you for being here and sharing all the news that you have to share about municipal elections and all of that stuff.
Oh, I don't think you have time to hear all the news, because the elections arena is about as busy as can be. There are actually any number of pending lawsuits in the courts these days, any of which could change our rules. So if you had me back next month, I would probably have completely different things to say. But I want to thank you for allowing me to be here and talk to you today. I appreciate getting the time. My name is Jake, and I currently chair the Buncombe County Board of Elections. And the reason I'm here is to let you know about some changes we've made. Now, you may know that we had a bit of a snafu earlier this summer during the July candidate filing period. There is a municipal election in Montreat this year, and the Board of Elections is very glad that community members have filed to run for every seat that's up. But it was a close call. One commissioner seat nearly didn't have a candidate, and it was because the incumbent, who had been appointed to an unexpired term, didn't seem to realize that they had to file for election. Now, our staff did bring this to the town's attention late in the process, because we had a concern that there might be a position for which no candidate filed. Now, we are addressing this at the Board of Elections by revising the correspondence that we send to the municipalities to kick off the election cycle. In the future, we're going to make sure to include language that reminds each municipality to check whether there are any offices where the incumbent was appointed, and if so, to double check to see if they've got to stand for election, because each town's charter is different. And the rules in Montreat may be different from the rules in Black Mountain. And we really depend on our partners at the municipalities to help us get that thing straight. We continuously strive at Buncombe County Board of Elections to improve our processes. Every month, we're finding a new way just to tweak what we do to make it better. And we are grateful to have this opportunity to improve our communications with municipalities, because our objective is to conduct smooth, fair, open, issue-free elections. And strong communications goes a long way towards helping us to accomplish that. We want to be sure that the community receives accurate and timely election information. And so we strive to keep the community informed of election issues and timetables. And we do appreciate partnering with each of Buncombe's municipalities in these efforts. We do ask our municipal partners to remain vigilant about election details and requirements as they help us in delivering the best electoral experience that we can to the Buncombe County community. That's it for my update. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your attention. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
All right, any questions of Jake? If
Thank
not,
you, everybody.
Thank you very much. We
I
appreciate you
appreciate it.
taking the time to come and update everyone here in Montreat.
It's my pleasure. Elections are my life.
All right. The next thing on our agenda is a text amendment public hearing on text amendment TA 2024-04. This past year, or rather actually in 1923, the agenda, the General Assembly of the state of North Carolina had what they referred to as a long session, began in January, and as the legislatures want to do these days, they passed a lot of requirements for municipalities. And a number of those requirements were basically mandates in a number of development regulations, development type regulations. And so as a result of all that, the North Carolina School of Government, which is a great resource for all our municipalities, put together basically a how-to of how do you make all the changes that the legislature has required vis-a-vis these development orders. And our staff, Kayla DiChristina and also Brandon Freeman, our town attorney, have been involved in putting together proposed ordinance for all these various requirements. And so that's the reason for the public hearing today. And once we get started with the public hearing, we'll ask Kayla to come up and describe the actual ordinances. But first, we need to get a public hearing going. And so I'd like to ask if any commissioner wishes to make a motion to open the public hearing.
I move to open.
Grant, all right. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Alexander. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The public hearing is now open, and I'll ask Kayla to come forward if she would to describe and discuss for everyone the text amendment.
Hi, everybody. For the record, my name's Kayla DiChristina, and I'm the zoning administrator for the town of Montreat. As Mason said, TA 2024-04 is a request to amend the general ordinance to comply with legislative updates from Session Law 2023-108 and 2023-137. The requested amendments are to Sections 300, 301, and 309 of the general ordinance. Guidance on these amendments, like Mason said, was provided from the UNC Chapel Hill School of Government's legislative bulletin. A link to that bulletin is included in your staff report. There's a lot of other stuff in there, so I included the verbatim excerpts from relevant sections of the bulletin in the staff report that explain what these amendments do. I just want to quickly summarize them, just so you all know what's being amended. Section 300, the amendment is to add text clarifying when stormwater controls are required for pre-existing development and redevelopment. Section 301 added text to define to the definition of impervious surface to clarify whether impervious surface associated with state or town rights of way was to be included in the definition. And Section 309 amended provisions under number 2 of this section to align with the revised language of North Carolina General Statute 160D 925. This section pertains to BMPs owned and maintained by HOAs and similar entities. I do want to note that yesterday the state legislature overturned the governor's veto of Senate Bill 166. This bill included a number of building code and land use regulated changes. This bill became effective upon signature yesterday. The amendments proposed under TA 2024-04 to Section 309 were affected by this bill. I spoke with Brandon Freeman, the town's legal counsel, this morning, and there is one minor change to the proposed revisions that the town needs to incorporate to comply with the new bill that has now been enacted by the veto being overturned. Attorney Brandon Freeman will advise the board on how to proceed with incorporating those changes. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Okay, any questions? If not, thank you, Kayla, very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And Brandon, we'll get to your comments on that when we get to the adoption sort of section of the discussion. Right now, I'd like to open, again, the public hearing's open. Are there any members of the public that have any questions, comments to ask of Kayla or Brandon or any members of the commission? Hearing no comment whatsoever from the public. It's riveting stuff. You know, we can talk about it a long time if you want. But hearing nothing, you know, I'll entertain a motion from the commission to close the public hearing.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Been a motion by Commissioner Whitmer, second by Commissioner Boucher. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearing is closed. We'll next move to the section of the agenda dealing with the adoption of the amendment. And as Kayla said, in the exciting world of the state legislature, yesterday at 3:03 p.m. in the afternoon, a veto was overridden, and I'll let you take it from here, Brandon.
Happy to. Thank you, sir. I spent a lot of time this morning reading that legislation. It's about 75 pages, so some light reading this morning of again, riveting stuff. I've spoken with Kayla today. We reviewed those changes. Earlier in the day, I thought that we were going to need to make changes to the versions that were posted. Just to be very honest with the board, I've kind of gone back and forth on that, and I'm not settled on it quite yet. I believe that if I had a little more time, I could figure it out, but I wasn't able to do it before tonight's meeting. I think in the interest of open government, what would make the most sense is to hold off on voting on the matter tonight. That would be my advice.
Okay.
And let me iron out whether there is any need to make a change to the ordinance as it was presented. I'm not sure whether there will
Well,
be
we
or
need to
not.
be sure, so thanks. It's just, remember the public, we've got in our packet an actual ordinance that we could adopt tonight with all the amendments that are required by the state. And there's no, we just have to do it. And Brandon and Kayla did a great job in drafting the ordinance. It tracks the language of the actual legislation itself, which is the best practice, in doing that in our own drafting. But because of this late change, Brandon's just not sure if what we've got down there in the ordinance we were going to pass tonight works. And so, Brandon, I think what I'm hearing you're going to suggest that we might have a motion to table this item until the next meeting of the commission.
The only question I'd have, it all makes sense, but are we on a timetable where we need to get this approved pronto, or?
Brandon?
I do not believe so. These are changes that need to be made. As Mayor Pro Tem Blake said, these are not discretionary. We did not make any discretionary decisions in the language in these statutes, but there is also not a mandate from the state is when they need to be adopted.
Okay, great.
Obviously, anything that is in your ordinances that would be contrary to what's in that state law should not be enforced. But I think that the risk of anything like that happening is extremely low. I think there would be more risk associated with moving quickly tonight than postponing this. My advice would be, rather than a motion to table, would be a motion to continue to a date certain. That date certain being the next meeting of this board, the next regular meeting of this board.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion to continue until the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Commissioners? What is that date? Do we have a date?
Yes.
October 10th.
I move that we continue this motion on date certain, October 10th of our next town council meeting.
All right, motion by Commissioner Alexander. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Commissioner Dasher. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the last item of new business is a bear survey results and discussion led by Commissioner Whitmer. Tom, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Mason. I'm waiting for my slide changer. It's not a person, it's a machine. Pardon? Oh, okay. She needs a few minutes. I can't dance, I can't sing, so. I love that, yeah.
There we go.
And, what'd you say? I'm barely heard. Any other good ones like that? Well, I will say and I'm really speaking to the commission, but also to all of you, because I know there's interest. By the way, there are copies of these slides up here, if anybody did not get one. I know Bill Solomon probably didn't get one. Just to let you know, the full report, the 64-page full report with charts and all comments is on the website. And also, these slides are on the website if you want to go out and download them. The good stuff. Yeah, thanks. The other thing that I would say is thank you to you all, as well as the entire community, for what you did. You responded in a fashion like we've never had before. We've had a number of surveys done in the last few years. Usually we get anywhere from 25 to 50 responses, depending upon what the subject is. This time we had 450 responses. Just as a point of reference, we had talked at the last meeting about having a meeting with the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission to talk about our bear situation. At that meeting, Kitty suggested, well, why don't we get some data on what our residents' experiences have been, which was a great idea. I love surveys, so Kitty and I jumped on it and developed this survey that you're about ready to see. And I'm just going to walk through it. The purpose of this survey really was just to collect data from residents to hear their bear experiences and perceptions in preparation for that meeting that I had mentioned to you about, and also help us develop our own plans independent of anything with North Carolina Wildlife Resources. The survey was launched on August 21. It was closed on September 8. And during that time frame, as I mentioned, we had 450 responses. 92% of those respondents were all homeowners. The other 8% were people who rent or spend some time here. And of those 450 respondents, you can see that 36% were full-time residents, 28% were part-time residents in the 4 to 11 month time frame, 19% summer, and 16% other. That other is the folks who come for a couple of weeks in the fall, a couple of weeks in the spring, and others who rent as well. We know that we like to talk in this town. There were 1,224 comments made on this survey, if you can believe that. And I'm sure you all can believe it. And I will tell you, I'll be real frank with you, I did not read them all. I skimmed, I read a lot of them. You'll see the results of some of those that needed to be quantitated. But for the most part, you all had something to say about everything. Why does that not surprise me or you? The first question on the survey was, how serious do you feel the bear situation is in Montreat? And the answers were anywhere from very serious, or the responses were anywhere from very serious down to don't know. And you can see that, and I don't think that this...
Point it back there.
Well, the screen absorbs the laser pointer, so it won't work. But you can see that the number one response was serious at about 42%. But then the second largest category was very serious at 26, almost 27%. So if you add those two together, which you can do to look at a seriousness scale, it's 69% of our residents feel that the bear situation in Montreat this year is serious at the least, or very serious. On the other end of the spectrum, not serious and not at all, you can add those two together, and about 11% did not think that the bear problem was very serious here. Now, one thing that I did is I looked at the data and looked at what the full-timers think versus the part-timers. And as you might suspect, the full-timers didn't think that the problem was as serious as the part-timers did. It was, the overall was 69% serious, and full-timers thought it was 61% serious as we look at it. Second question was, how do you feel that there's been an increase in bear activity this year over previous years? Obviously, the largest category of response was 83% saying that yes, there's a definite increase this year over previous years. There was a few saying no and a few saying can't tell. There was an opportunity to write comments on this, and let me just share with you some of those comments that reflect things as a whole. First one, without question, we had 40-plus bear sightings this summer over June and July compared to approximately 10 the year before. Let me skip around a little bit in the interest of time. We have cameras on our property and used to see 1 to 2 bears a month when we weren't around. Now we see them in person in broad daylight daily, and that's on film. The next one scares me a little bit. Significant increase. For the first time in 40 years, I'm actually a little scared to walk around in Montreat. And finally, I've lived here for 15 years and have seen an increase over the past 5 years. This summer has been the worst. That's representative of about 85 comments that were given. Commission, if you have any questions, and you all too for that matter, please throw them out. On average, how frequently do you see bears in Montreat? Well, the most frequent response was several times a week and tied with 3 to 4 times a week. So if you, again, you can add those two together along with daily, and 57% of our residents say that they see bears at least 2 times a week, and as much as daily. If you look at those two big numbers, the several times a week as well as 3 to 4 times a week, it's 47% see bears between 2 and 4 times a week. Have you had any experiences with bears on your own property this season? And if they answered no, they skipped that question. The next question, moved to the following question. Almost 89% said yes, they've had experiences with bears on their own property. That was somewhere in the neighborhood of, let's see, where was that? Well, I'll get to it. But 89% said that yes, they had had experiences. We then asked them in the next question to describe the categories. This was a prompted question. We gave them various options, and the last 2 were damage to my home, and we asked them if they had damage to please indicate what kind of damage it was. Number 1 category, as you can see, was bears in the proximity of my deck, porch, patio, other outdoor areas. Not damage, but just observation, being present when they probably hadn't been present like that in the past. And I know many of you are shaking your heads. You've seen it. I've seen it. My neighbor Bill has seen it because those bears that come to his house come over to my house afterward. Say that again? Who has the best food? Well, neither one of us, because they don't hang around. The last two categories are the damage that's done. Between those two, 41% of everybody who responded said, and this was multiple responses, 41% said that they had reported damage of some kind, either minor or major damage. And to me, that was surprising, that there was that high a level. I wasn't surprised at bears getting into my trash, but I was surprised at the level of damage. The next question was, what type of damage have you sustained? And this is where I did a content analysis of all the responses. And by number of mentions, from highest to lowest, here's what you got. You got number one, broken basement, crawl space fence, and access doors. 55 people indicated that they had had vents broken or access doors broken. A lot of these same people said that the bears had gotten into their house, and two people said they're still living under their house. Second one, most frequent, was ripped up siding, screens. Of that category, lattice work was the most frequent, almost as frequent in terms of just mentions as vents. But they got into house trim, doors, and other kinds of household damage. The third category with 22 responses was a tie with broken fences, rock walls, retaining walls, steps, rock path edging, a lot of grubs, as you can imagine, were under those rocks, and thus the bears got to them. Tied with that were broken tree branches, destroyed trees, as well as plantings. They're rough on our landscape. 13 people said that they had broken water pipes, HVAC that had been broken, or torn out insulation. And right behind that, then, oh, I'm sorry, wrong way. Right behind that were broken trash receptacles and boxes where they had, and I'm not talking about getting into the trash. I'm saying that they responded with, they broke my trash receptacle. Broken articles, flower pots, bird feeders, furniture grills, and bears stole some items. There were eight poor souls in Montreat who had stolen items from the bears in this past year. Right behind that, they broke into the house, got food. One person indicated that the window was open. The bear got in. There was honey crusted flakes or something, and bran flakes. The bear took the honey flakes, but didn't take the bran flakes. Go figure. I'd do the same. And then right after that was breaking into the house. I've already talked about that. I'm sorry. And the last one, with 2 mentions each, were breaking into sheds and sustained auto damage. Not as bad here as in Black Mountain, let me tell you. There are lots of reports, including a BMW that was absolutely trashed in Black Mountain a couple months ago. Bear got in, door closed, bear couldn't get out. And the insurance company totaled the car. Do you know of anyone who has intentionally fed bears this season? I was really pleased at this, the low number of people who had observed or knew or had heard of people feeding bears. So hopefully we're getting the message. Well, this next one, as you can imagine, again, symptomatic of the 1,224 comments, there were a lot of ideas. In fact, as you can see in the upper corner there were 294 ideas. Actually, more than that, because a lot of people had multiple ideas. This is the one where I didn't go through every single one. I skimmed it, I looked for patterns and looked for repeats as well, unique things. And these are the kinds of categories of ideas that people had. And I won't go through all of them, but one of the most frequently commented, and you should feel good about this, Arrington, we need to adopt Bearwise practices. We need to be smart about Bearwise. So the Bearwise program really is doing its job. It's just that we've got a lot of errors, and we got a lot of folks who are not paying attention to Bearwise practices as well. Dumpster controls around the college particularly was commented. Education, now educating homeowners, probably the single most commented in this category was we got to do something about the renters knowing what's going on. It came up so many times that the renters are just not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're not taking it seriously. They're not. They're lackadaisical about locking the trash cans. Those kinds of comments back. A lot of comments about hunting the bears, thinning the population. We can't do that. There's a period of time that there is a bear season. It starts in October, the end of October, and goes through Jan 1. They extended it this year, by the way. But we cannot just go out and hunt bears. And as you probably know, there's also an ordinance within the town of no discharge of firearms. Another one that was akin to that was moving the bears out. As you probably know, North Carolina Wildlife Resources did that for a while. They found that as soon as they did that, sometimes the bears made it back to the location before Wildlife Resources did. So they don't do that anymore. And we can't do that ourselves. And that's just the way bears are. Lots of comments about fines. Fine people. We got these rules, let's fine them. And as I said, getting tough on rentals. Getting tough on the people who own those rental houses because they're the ones that we should hold responsible, were the comments. A number of people said nothing. They were here first. The bears were here first. Let's coexist with them, were some of the other comments as well. One of the repeat comments that came back a number of times was having to do with trash pickup. A lot of people are very diligent about how they handle curbside trash pickup. So many people in these comments said that they come down to the convenience center and they don't even use curbside trash pickup anymore. So there were a number of comments about stopping curbside trash pickup, and everybody used the town convenience center. So those were the types of comments that came out of question 7 of ideas. Question 8 was, do you think that the town government should require property owners to have bear-proof resistant trash receptacles? A resounding, essentially 67% said yes, we do think there should be a mandatory bear-proof trash receptacles. This question also had a comment section on it too, and we got a lot of comments. And these are just some of those, again, categories of comments. There was a lot of concern for the expense of the town requiring bear-proof trash containers because they're not cheap. Get one at Lowe's for $400. That's a lot of money. Others saying that the town should provide them. Some people saying, well, only require the rental homes and the houses where renters are. We can't do that by law. That is against the law. We checked into that, and that is not possible. A lot of comments with, is there really such thing as a bear-proof trash container? A lot of people thought they were already required as well. And some people, a few, said yes if curbside pickup is used, not if you use the town convenience center. That's really hard to legislate. It would be really hard to do that. As I said earlier, many people commented here that they use the town convenience center. And a couple of folks said, why don't you check how other communities do it? Which is a really good idea. Next question was, do you think that the town government should limit the use of bird feeders to prevent them from becoming a food attraction for bears? A much smaller percent said, yes, require it, because we have a bunch of bird lovers, including one who's talking on this microphone, who would not like to see that, far fewer. About 50% versus the 67% on bear-proof trash receptacles. Okay, last thing. You're probably asking yourself, Commission as well as all of you, so what? What do we do with this data? Number one, we sit down with the Wildlife Resources Commission to go over this, our present situation, and talk about solutions with them. I think with our experience so far, they're not going to have a lot of solutions for us. That's just they have to abide by a very strict set of ordinances as well. But that's where we're going to start. The second point, and this is where you all can help, residents must take responsibility for trash control. Everybody in this room takes responsibility. How can we get others to take responsibility, I think, is the big deal on this. And whether it's renters or whether it's people who just kind of at the last minute run out, dump their trash in, and forget to put the clasp on in the carabiner on the log or on the container. Thirdly, the town will, council and staff will talk about and consider mandatory bear-proof trash containers, because you all said we should, and we will talk about that. The town council will also review trash pickup procedures and schedule. There are a couple of comments about we're told to have everything out by 8 o'clock, but Drew doesn't get to us until 1. So maybe we need to try and get things a little tighter. Maybe we have zones around town. So you put your trash out if you're in zone 4 at 1 o'clock, from say 1 to 3. The problem, Savannah brought this up, they can't control things real well because there are so many unmanageables with Drew and the staff that he's working with. But we are going to talk about that at some point. And then finally, the town council and staff will discuss the roles of curbside pickup and the town convenience center. The town convenience center is a great service. I'm sure all of you use it. I use it, but I don't use it in lieu of my curbside pickup. So I think we just need to talk through that and figure out what the roles of those two services are. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, that's all I got.
All right. Listen, Tom, I know the work you put into, and Kitty as well, just putting that survey together, the time to analyze it, all of that, I thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you and Kitty both for your leadership. We can't, okay, we're going to get to another public comment section here, I think, and we'll maybe allow you to ask some questions. We can't get any discussion, okay?
If I can add something?
Yes.
I want to thank Tom again. I came up with the idea and I get all this credit, but Tom did all the work. So idle hands, you know what they say about it. So you're welcome, Tom. But I did want to add that Black Mountain had a meeting a couple of weeks ago to talk about their bear issue. And I went to that, and first of all, I want to say they were very complimentary. It was Ashley Hobbs was very complimentary of Montreat and the strides that we've made, and she mentioned you, Arrington, and the Bearwise Committee push that we've got here, so kudos for you. But she answered the question, are there more bears? She said, yes, they have doubled since 2012. There were about 4,900 bears, and now there's about 20,000 bears. Wait a minute. Yeah, 4,900 in 2012 and about 8,000 to 9,000 now. And Buncombe County is the most bear populated county in the state of North Carolina. She talked about, I thought that they didn't eat meat, but they do. About 3% of their diet is meat. And they did break into behind the vet's office in Black Mountain, and they killed all the chickens, ducks, a bunch of animals they had in the backyard, and they killed them all, but they didn't eat any of them. And the mother had 4 cubs that broke into 2 houses and then broke into another house, and they're pretty sure it was the same bear. They had to euthanize all 5 of them because the mother had trained the babies on where to get food, and so they had to be taken out also. So it's a sad day when they have to do that, but the problem is we have so many bears, they're all fighting for the same food sources, and something's got to give. She said that Buncombe County problem calls are about 1/3 of all the calls of the state. So we're way up there. Ask about how to level off. She said they're not trying to decrease the number of bears as much as they're trying to level off the growth, because every year it continues to grow. And the bear biologist got up, I didn't know there was a title such as that, but she got up and said the only way to level the growth is through hunting. And so they have already met and added 2 more reserves to Buncombe County where the hunters can hunt. They've added 9 days to the hunting season, but they have not raised the limit. It's still 1 bear per, I guess you have to buy a permit, a license. So anyway, we can talk to them about maybe raising the limit would be, or maybe somebody has suggested, increasing the bow season to have an earlier and longer bow season. Let's see what else she said. I think that was pretty much it. She talked about a bird feeder having about 20,000 calories in it, and so that's why they're so popular when the bears right now are trying to stuff themselves in order to partially hibernate.
Can I just comment on that too? During the summer, they need about 3,000 calories a day for normal life. As we get into the fall season, it goes to 30,000 calories per day they need to get themselves ready for tourpar.
Yeah. So that's why a full bird feeder is a really good dining option. So I think that's about it, but we're not the only ones having a problem, and our problem here is big. We're not just imagining it. It's a major problem.
Thank you, Kitty. And again, thank you, Tom. Let me just say one other thing. Anecdotally, another one of the problems is that there are fewer hunters. There are fewer bear hunters. It's not as popular as it was 10 or 20 years ago. And that's one of the reasons that we don't have as many bears being taken. So in any event, let's move on to public comment. It's our last section of public comment, and we'll include questions if anybody has questions to ask about the survey that Tom discussed.
No, my question was.
Yep, come on.
Yeah, come on up to the microphone, and Arrington, you'll be next. You're next.
Laurie Morgan, I just wondered if they know why there are more bears. I mean, you mentioned fewer hunters, but are they
One thing-
procreating more often?
Yes, you know, it used to be, and I haven't been here that long, but it used to be I would see a mother with one cub. That's all I ever saw. And 2 was unusual. Now they're having 3, 4, and even 5 cubs because of the availability of food. And if a mother is pregnant with 4 and doesn't get the food, her body will abort down to what she can support. So we're growing the population by feeding them.
They're getting protein out of our garbage is what's happening.
Fat, yeah.
And that protein is generating increased birth rate. Arrington, come up, please.
I'm Arrington Cox, and I am chairman of Land Care, and I'm also the liaison between the town of Montreat and the National Wildlife Commission. We're giving these bears room and board, Medicare, and food stamps. And I've in conversation with neighbors around, comments go all over town. They come to me, and somebody said, you know, I'm not responsible if the bear gets in my house. And I'm saying, oh yeah, it is. Oh yeah, it is. You left your window open, and there's cereal on your counter, or there's honey on your counter. It is your responsibility. It is everybody's individual responsibility to take this on and keep. We're not going to fix it unless everybody is on board with this. Bear watchers are great. There's several bear watchers in this room. They do their great job of reporting. We know the movement of the bears. But it's going to take every single individual in the town of Montreat to keep this community safe. Am I getting my point across? Oh, good, good. Just want to be sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Arrington, and thank you for all your work with BearWise. Arrington put BearWise together here and continues to chair it and do a great job. Yes, Gene, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I really did not expect to comment on town matters. I'm Jake Quinn, and I live in North Asheville. And there is one bear living under one of my porches, and I see bears all the time. And the problem is not the bears. The problem is people. The problem is irresponsible people. And I understand a municipality's reluctance to assess fines against property owners. We have the same phenomenon in Asheville. But I'll tell you, fines are a pretty effective lever because they really grab people's attention. And in almost all cases, when someone gets a notice of a fine, they ask themselves, how can I avoid having this happen to me again? And then they learn about BearWise practices, and they learn that they have a responsibility. And I don't think that everybody understands the responsibility they have. And I thank the previous speaker for her work on this stuff and for her knowledge. I second everything that she says. Good luck, y'all.
Rusty, come up, please.
I'm Rusty Douglas. If we were 17th century Calvinist Presbyterians, which we're not, but if we were, more than likely they would take one renter a year, cover him with honey, and stake him out there at the Assembly Drive, okay? I say that facetiously, but my point is, and I piggyback on the brother here about human nature. Presbyterians will learn when they have fines, when there is a penalty for being irresponsible. If you're not going to be serious about fines, we're going to continue to have this conversation over and over again, in my opinion. I think you've got to be serious about that, and then perhaps things will become more responsible.
Thank you, Lori's pointing to Martha. Martha.
I'm Martha Campbell, 149 Maryland Place. A couple of weeks ago, we were hiking in a national park, and I took pictures of two signs. Well, I actually have three, but I couldn't just now find the other picture. One of them is a great big yellow sign that says "Bear Aware," and it has a bear. And it said the slopes of this resort, although it was woods, are a forested environment. These slopes are home to many bears and other wildlife. Please use caution during your visit and enjoy the following. And then it lists some things to do. So I think it's possible that we could really literally post warning signs around Montreat, especially for people who are here temporarily, which is the renters, it's the conferees, even for some of us. So that would be one suggestion. The other, oops, sorry, I'm gonna have to hang up on my grandchild. The other sign doesn't relate to, wait a minute, I'm sorry. I don't want to copy that photo. Let's see if I can get it again. The other sign is really a hiker's sign, but I found it humorous. And I'll send it to Jason Dance at the conference center if I can. Here it goes. Warning hikers. Let me make this big so I can, come on. I'm sorry, y'all. It tells you to watch out for explosives when you hike, and that if you see them, do not touch them. And it's because in places where there are avalanches, they do, or potential avalanches, they do use explosives and try to rearrange the side of mountains. But anyway, it's another great big sign, yellow with a red thing across the top, for hikers. But I think my point is maybe posting some really carefully worded signs. The other one I had said things like, don't approach bears, and some of the things that we know from BearWise. We've been talking about BearWise for years. And some of those things maybe posted around town would call people's attention to, there really is something. It could even have a website on the bottom, check with the BearWise website or something that might call further attention to it.
Thank you. Okay. Yes.
There's one person in this room who knows all the bear activity because she gets called all the time, and that's Angie. Angie, do you have any thoughts that you would like to share with us? You have to come up to the microphone. You don't have anything to say?
She does.
When did Angie not have something to say?
I guess just secure your trash. A lot of it is people that think the lid's closed and it's not closed, or they thought somebody else locked it and they didn't lock it. It's just, I think it's more, I agree, it's more of a people problem than a bear problem. And I do try to levy fines, but people don't want to pay fines to me for some reason. But they do, however, want to pay fees for us cleaning the trash up. So that might be something we can do later on. But yeah, they don't want to pay me fines. I'm too nice, I think. So.
Thank you, Angie, for everything.
And one thing that we have started doing in order to get people to pay the fines is if there are multiple unpaid fines, there will come a time where your trash service is going to get suspended. And we've done that now a couple of times. So we're trying to get a little bit more serious about collecting those fines and making sure people know that it's a serious problem.
Yeah, it only hits home when it hits their wallet, and they have to actually pull it out and write a check. Mary, you had something?
do better when I have a bit of support. But it's much easier to talk about bears, but I'm going to do a major change in topics. And I am going to address the municipal elections in 2024 and the concerns I've had, and just as I understand them, and where the problems lie. When filing started on July 5th, 2024, the residents and voters of Montreat were informed that the mayor and 2 4-year terms were up for election. The question is, how did this happen? 2 facts as I understand it. The town of Montreat did not inform the Board of Elections that Kent Otto had resigned. A failure on the town. That's my understanding.
That's an incorrect understanding.
And I was also understood that when the Board of Elections called the town of Montreat, that asking what services were open, or what seats were open, they were informed by a member of the staff that it was the mayor and 2 4-year elections. And we have the Board of Elections chair here, so we could perhaps learn if the town of Montreat did inform Board of Elections when Kent Otto resigned. I don't have a clear answer on that, but that's what we as citizens learned. On July 18th at 2:14 p.m., the citizens of Montreat were informed by an email which stated that yesterday, which was Wednesday the 17th, that the town learned that a 3rd seat was up for election. That would be the 2-year term that had been filled by the town council to fill Mr. Otto's commission. This was less than 24 hours prior to the end of the filing term. So elections are important, and the town council is ultimately responsible for fair elections. Why does this matter? The residents of Montreat did not learn until less than 24 hours before the end of filing that there was a 3rd seat that was available. Does this matter? Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. But quite frankly, we've heard a lot over the last few years about election fairness and election openness. And it's important. I attended the Board of Elections meeting at the county level last Tuesday, and the one takeaway message that I learned there was that everybody needs to learn everything at the same time. So my questions, which y'all may know the answer to, and I'm not asking for those, but if the town was informed on Wednesday the 18th that there was a 3rd seat available, why were the residents not informed until 2:14 on Thursday? And I don't know when they were learned from the Board of Elections, but that's one question that's very fair. Why does this matter that we did not know from the very beginning that there were 3 seats up for elections? Because it could have changed the nature of the filing. With only 2 commissioner seats available, that's a minority of the commission. With 3 seats coming up for election, that's a majority. And we will have to admit, as much as Montreat has drama. It's had drama since 1897. It had issues. This is nothing new. But if from the beginning we as residents had known that 3 seats were available, perhaps more people would have filed in order to take over the majority seats in positions on town council. We have issues regarding the college, the conference center, the lodge, even bears. But it needs to be clearly stated that there are issues with the 2024 Montreat elections. Intentional, unintentional, I don't think really anybody had any negative thoughts about doing. I don't think it was done nefariously, but it was not done correctly. I don't know if there's a remedy to this, but it needs to be in the record. And people need to know more than it was just miscommunications. And it has consequences. And it doesn't please me to share this, but it needs to be on the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. It's really not a, this isn't a, that's not the design of this public forum to respond. I'd like to respond briefly, but I think the best thing to do is at the next committee meeting, and I can assure everyone that there certainly was nothing intentional, but we can have a full response at that point. Does that make sense? So that we're not scrambling and saying anything that isn't absolutely correct, Mary, in response to that. Okay, Jake, we'll consult you if needed, but
yeah, please, if you've got any questions of the Board of Elections or Buncombe Election
we may
Services,
get asked for you something in
just
writing.
let me know.
Yeah, that's fine.
We just want to make sure everything goes smoothly.
Yeah.
And that's why we've changed our internal process to bolster our communication.
We
to-
all acknowledge this didn't go smoothly.
Diminish the chance that.
And we need to make sure it doesn't happen again.
And our concern at Board of Elections is not just Montreat. We're concerned about the whole county. There's 6 other municipalities, and we're making the change in our correspondence with all 6, because we partner with all 7 municipalities in this county to have smooth elections. So, thank you. Thank you for your time and concern.
Any other public comments? No? Any communications from the commissioners that you'd like to report?
I would just like to tell you again that batteries and ink cartridges we're recycling here. We brought some in tonight, right, Hugh? Mhm.
We're going to have some bigger containers next week in place, probably in our copier room, but for now, there's a small container in my office, or you can just give them to Angie.
I'd just like to make one point on the post office, which we talked about. You know, we do need to be careful. We can either have a post office or we can have hand delivery. You know, I'm concerned we complain too much about our address problem and we'll end up with no post office. And I wish everybody would try to work with Nova, and there are ways to address your mail to get things delivered to the post office. They're not delivered to your address, but packages are delivered to your address, to try to work with the post office. Their concern, and they've expressed it to me, is apparently there's been a lot of communications lately, and it gets up to the post office level, to their customer services departments, and it's a lot easier for them to close this post office than it is to change the way their computers function in Washington, D.C. And we just need to be careful that we don't complain so much we get something we don't ask for. And that's just sometimes the way the world works. So let's be cognizant that we need to protect the post office in this process. It's as irritating to me as anybody else on the address thing, but we don't want to complain till we more than solve the problem. So that's it. Anything else? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move that we adjourn.
Oh, dates to remember. I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Unmoved.
Dates to remember. Hillside Development Ordinance Subcommittee meets Wednesday, September 25th at 9:00 a.m. in Town Hall. The Sign Ordinance Subcommittee meets Thursday, September 26th from 2:45 to 4:45 in Town Hall. The Land Care Montreat Land Care meets Wednesday, October 2nd at 9 a.m. in Town Hall with a Zoom option. The October Town Council meeting is Thursday, October 10th at 6 o'clock p.m. That's this meeting in Town Hall with Zoom option, and the public forum will begin at 5:30. Planning Zoning Commission meets Thursday, October 17th at 10:30 a.m. in Town Hall with a Zoom option. All right.
I move we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Second.
All right. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance.
That's my commissions, right? Yeah. That's right. That's what we're watching. I think the way that we found out, if I remember correctly, is